Welcome to the Hawthorn Cotagecraft Podcast. This is episode 27. Today is Friday the 12th of October 2018. I'm Kate. You can find me on Instagram as Kate_Hawthorncottagecraft, on Ravelry as ARunnerBean, and we have a Ravelry group for the podcast called Hawthorn Cotagecraft Podcast Group. I'd like to welcome all returning viewers. It's lovely to see you again, and I'd like to welcome all new viewers. It has been awesome over the last few weeks. Our community has grown so much, and I want to thank everybody who has subscribed to the channel. Unbelievably, we went through the 3K mark, I think it was last weekend, and that just blows me away that in a year and a half our community has grown so much. As a thank you, I'd like to give you something for that, just from my heart to you, to say thank you for supporting the podcast. In the giveaway, I am giving away a bag, a bucket bag made by myself. These are very rare now, I don't make them anymore, but bucket bag. And if you've been with me from the beginning, you know that I love fine fish yarns, and this is one of my favourite colourways that she's ever dyed, and this is Whatever Happened to Fairy Cakes, and it's a core sock 75/25 superwash merino nylon base, and it's beautiful shades of pink, so it's a very celebratory colour. And she has also donated 2 pins, enamel pins. These are all the craze at the moment, and Fine Fish Yarns has produced these beautiful ones that are from her logo. And I also have from, hopefully there's not too much glare off the little bag, Maker's merch from Kelly, who has cast on, I'll put her link at the bottom. Her podcast name is gone. Kelly and Mars, who is Hey Brown Berry, have this company, Maker's Merch, and I have a little badge from it. And I also have a pattern to give away. Sandra's Knits on Instagram very kindly donated a pattern to the podcast months ago, and I want to give that away now. She designed some beautiful sock designs. She has other designs, I think, too, in her shop, but a lot of them are Harry Potter based, and she has donated a pattern of your choice from her shop, which is Sandra C Designs on Ravelry, to a podcast viewer. So those are all by way of a thank you for supporting me and the podcast. If you would like to enter this, please leave a comment under this video. It is important that you do have a Ravelry account as well, because the pattern, that's how I'll get that to you. But please leave a comment under this video. Do not please write the word giveaway in it, just so that we don't get people who are just entering but don't actually follow the podcast. So please, under the video, comment and write what your favourite pattern is that you have ever knit. The one that stands out for you as your favourite. I think this one is mine, and again its name, although it's my favourite, has slipped my mind, and I will put it along the bottom. But this hoodie is one of my favourites. It's my go-to sweater that I put on, so it's one of my favourites. Leave a comment and I will draw for a winner on Friday the 30th of November, and I'll announce the winner after that on the next podcast after that. So thank you so much for supporting me and supporting this podcast, and let's see where we go from there. I also, before we get started on the podcast, want to thank you for the support that you have given me since the last podcast episode. I discussed my struggles with mental health. I was reluctant to do that, but I did, and the level of support has blown me away. Thank you so much to everyone who left a comment, who has private messaged me, and has just shown love and support. It is so important for people who are struggling with mental health to know that there are people out there who understand and identify with how you feel, and just thank you so much. So anyway, I hope you have your cuppa and we have lots of things to show and talk about. So I have a couple of finished objects to show you today. The last time we had a lot of sweaters, this time there's a bit of a mix of things. The first thing I've finished since the last time we spoke is a project that I've had on the needles since September of 2017. This project felt endless, and I don't know why. I like both the yarn, the pattern, as you will see, isn't an issue, but I think because it kept getting set down, it just felt as though it was never going to end, and I really got fed up with this project, but I was determined to finish, and we have done so. Let me show you my Atlantic Knitscape socks. These, as I said, were started at Atlantic Knitscape in 2017, in the September. The colourway, the yarn I used was Bear and Sheep's Clothing, and it was Bernie's Bear BFL sock base, which is 75% blue-faced Leicester, 25% nylon, and the colourway was Killadoon, after the area that we stay in for Atlantic Knitscape. I got the first sock finished quite quickly. It's a vanilla sock, so there really shouldn't have been an issue knitting this, and I love the way the yarn pulled in this. I think it just gave it a little bit of design. It's a 64 stitch sock. It's 1x1 rib. It was afterthought heel, my normal rounded toe. But it just seemed to take forever. Got the first one done. I actually tried to cheat a little bit with this sock because it just was sitting and doing nothing. I brought it last May with me to Knitscape and thought, I think everyone should knit a row in this and it'll be a lovely memory of Knitscape. It was really so that I didn't have to knit the sock. So a few people actually did help. I got it cast on and I didn't knit this bit. So I got out of knitting the rib and the first number of rows. So can I thank Catherine from Atlantic Knitscape, Grace, who you all know as Babbles Travelling Yarns, and Susan Sharps. Susan had come over from England for the retreat. They together knit this part of the sock. So I will always have a memory of Knitscape. But I eventually got the sock finished. I had got down and I think I got as far as the inserting the heel, and it really just needed work done. So they're done. There's nothing very much more to say about these socks apart from I can now wear them. They're lovely and soft. The BFL, when I was working with it, was soft but not particularly soft. Since they've been washed and blocked, they are now very soft, and I think these will be a very warm pair of socks to wear. And the colours are very appropriate for Knitscape. There's the greens and the blues of the sea and just the colour of the scenery around that part of County Mayo. So finally, I have my Atlantic Knitscape socks, and thank you to those who helped me knit it. So that was the first FO. The second finished object was also a pair of socks. Now, I will apologise that this is a very, probably like the last one, Rhinebeck heavy episode. Most of the rest of what I have to talk about is for Rhinebeck, and I leave on Monday. So I need to talk about them now so I can pack them. Everything else is packed. I am so excited. It has really kept me going over the last few weeks, the thought of my trip, and I have been knitting away furiously, as you will see. I want to point out here actually and let you know about the Not Going to Rhinebeck virtual festival. If you don't know of it, not everybody is going to Rhinebeck, and a group of makers, Mars from Hey Brownberry, Maria who has Ninja Chickens, Natalie from Remembrance's Pottery, and a huge group of other podcasters and makers have created a virtual festival where they're doing knit-alongs for a Not Going to Rhinebeck sweater, and there will be shopping available over the weekend and over the time of Rhinebeck where you can feel as though you're taking part as well. So I'll put the hashtag, I think it's hashtag not going to Rhinebeck, and if you look at some of their accounts, you'll get more information about what's going on over the weekend. But I am going to Rhinebeck, and I had started the last time, and I think it possibly got on to the second one, the On the Hill socks. You know I love Crazy Sock Lady Designs socks, Kay Litton, and I've knit a few pairs of her socks now, and this is her On the Hill sock. It's a lovely little cable pattern along the front of the sock. It might be easier if you see the pattern off. So that's the front of the sock, and the back's just plain stocking stitch. So it's a 64 stitch pattern. I use, as I do on all my socks, a 2.5mm, which is a US 1.5 needle, and it was a 2x2 rib. I can't remember if it was 2x2 on the pattern, but it's my preferred rib. Followed the pattern. She put in a heel flap and gusset, and I'm really enjoying doing heel flaps and gussets again. And the rounded toe. Her pattern for the rounded toe, whether it's the stitch count, just has turned out the nicest toes that I've created, I think. So both socks are now done. It's On the Hill. We meet, there's a podcaster, there's a Ravelry meet up at 12 o'clock on the Saturday of Rhinebeck, and then a podcaster meet up at 1 on the Hill in the middle of the Duchess grounds. So I have my socks. The yarn I used was yarn that I picked up in Ottawa last year in Wabi Sabi. It's Gregorian Bay Fibre Company, and it was their Bayfield sock, which was 80% superwash blue face Leicester and 20% nylon, and it was oak leaf, which is very appropriate for the autumn. So that's my second pair of Rhinebeck socks for going away. So you know that I had 2 Rhinebeck sweaters. I have my Blee Rock by Becky Baker from the Fibre Company. I'm planning to wear it on the Friday at Needles Up, and then I also had knit from this book, the Rhinebeck sweater. I had knit the Duchess sweater, which was a colour work yoke that I'm planning to wear at Rhinebeck. But you know me, I was itching once that sweater was off the needles. I had started to knit Kate, which there's no point in showing you today because I haven't actually put anything more onto. But I wanted another sweater. I thought, there's 3 days for the festival, with Needles Up being on the Friday. I need one for every day. I had also planned and also been trying to knit completely from stash, and I slipped. I was trawling through the book again, and I came across the Apple Cider Donut cardigan by Cecily Glowitt MacDonald. And if you remember last year, one of my main highlights of Rhinebeck was my apple cider donuts, and I felt I had to knit this sweater. Didn't have yarn in stash. It's an Aran weight sweater, and I just had to maybe just go a little bit shopping. So I did. I went and I looked for some Aran yarn, and I wanted an appropriate colour. So I had gone to Jameson's of Shetland, and I'd got their Heather, Shetland Heather, and I bought their Copper Beech colourway. And I started this cardigan, as it is a cardigan rather than a sweater. I started the cardigan on a Wednesday, and I finished it completely the following Wednesday. It is such... People say I'm a quick knitter. I don't think I am particularly. I know I have produced quite a lot recently, but this really, really, really was a quick knit. And this is my sweater. And I think actually of the 3 that I have knit, this one will be one of my favourites. I like them all, but this is going to be so cosy. It's a top-down cardigan. You started at here. The collar was knit on at the end. So it was top-down, and it was stocking stitch. And you knit the button band on at the same time. So there was no button band to pick up at the end, which was lovely. Knit the body, then added the sleeves. Now, at the end of that, in the pattern it advised that you blocked the cardigan before you picked up for the collar. And I don't know why that is, actually. If you know why that is, maybe it's to do with how it sits. I don't know. Comment and tell me if there's a particular reason for that. I was impatient. I wanted it to be a quick knit. I wanted to make sure I had it finished and blocked and ready. So I just went on ahead and picked up for the collar, and it hasn't been an issue. So I really don't genuinely know why you have to do that. But the collar is where this cardigan comes into its own. It's cabled, and it sits really high, so it'll be really, when it's buttoned, it'll sit up really cozy up around my neck. When it's open, it falls into more of a collar. But it is just beautiful. I love this collar, and this yarn was a dream to knit with. I knit it on 5.5mm, which is a US 9 needle. The yarn is strong, it's solid, it's 100% Shetland, but I find it very soft. I was wondering how it would feel once it was blocked, and once it is blocked, it has softened up and it has a beautiful, beautiful drape. I didn't think it would drape as well as it has, and it is just a really, really lovely piece, and I think I'm going to get an awful lot of wear out of this cardigan. It's my colours. I love this colour at this time of year. It's a colour I would wear a lot. So I'm really, really, really pleased with it. I got the buttons, if you can see them. They're a bronzy effect from the Textile Garden. And I'm just really, really pleased with how it's turned out. Plain stocking stitch. The one thing I did, which I am really, really pleased with, was the bind off. I normally do, I think it's the Russian bind off, where you knit two and then bring them back to the other needle and knit into them together. And I find that quite a stretchy bind. I like a stretchy bind off, because I do bind, if I do a knit bind off, it's very tight and it really pulls on my work. But I don't like the Jenny, is it Jenny Surprisingly stretchy bind off, because I feel it flares. So I bind off most things in the Russian bind off, but I wanted this to look as though it just flowed. I didn't want that cast off edge. So I have this little book, Cast On Bind Off, and I had a look through it, and it's a great little trove of information. It gives the different bind offs, the instructions on how to do them, and it tells you what their characteristics are, if they're stretchy, if they're a more solid bind off, and it tells you what they're good for. Are they good for socks? Is it good for the edge of a shawl? Is it good for a sweater? And the bind off that I settled on was the sewn bind off. Now, I quite enjoy doing Kitchener stitch on socks. I know a lot of people don't like Kitchener stitch. I enjoy doing the Kitchener stitch, and I've got to the point now where I don't have to be quite as concentrated. When I started doing Kitchener stitch, I had to go into a room on my own, not have any noise or distractions, so that I didn't lose where I was at. I'm slightly better at that. If you don't like Kitchener stitch, you won't like doing the sewn bind off, because it's very, very similar. But you're doing quite a long stretch of it, and I did have to go in to a quiet room and not be interrupted and repeat out loud the stitches and what I was doing and where I was at. But I think it just gives, if I can show it, a really nice, I don't know if it'll show it particularly well, a really nice edge. It just looks as though it has flown off the needles. There's no edge, or it's a very fluid bind off. And I did that on the cuffs as well, and then round the neck. And I just think it gives it a really professional, neat finish without, as I say, that line. So this is Rhinebeck sweater number 3, and I'm wearing this on the Saturday with my socks. I'm all matchy with my socks. And then, because the other hat I've knit is pink, I couldn't wear a pink hat. Now, I don't know if I'm actually going to need all these layers. The weather forecast is for, I think, for their cool but dry. But what their cool is to me a really, really nice day. I think it's giving it to be about 13 or 14 degrees Celsius. And that's a good day here. So I don't know if I'll need the hat. But I had quite a bit of the yarn left from the cardigan. I have a couple of balls left of it still, I think. And I thought I would just knit up a wee beanie hat. And this is called the Dotty Beanie. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. I can't remember the designer. I'll put that across the screen. But it's the beanie, the Dotty Beanie. Now, I'm not overly keen on the way the pattern has gone with the decreases, but as a free pattern and on yarn like this and at the top of my head, it's not going to be seen. I also made it slightly smaller. It was a bit more slouchy on me, and I wanted it to be a tighter beanie because I'm not putting a pom-pom on it, although it would suit a pom-pom. So it's just a really simple little beanie hat. Put it on. There we go. What do you think? So if I need a hat, I've got my hat to match my cardigan. I think I knit it on a possibly a 5.5mm as well. I can't remember. I actually forgot to write down notes on this one, but it's the Dotty Beanie. So that is the Rhinebeck wardrobe complete. There's definitely nothing more going into it. Works in progress, since that have been quite limited. I've been doing other bits and pieces. I've had a few gifts that I need to get ready to go that I can't obviously show you because they're gifts. But the only other works in progress I've put on another pair of socks just that I have something to do for the next few days. And I've put on a shawl that I'm just not sure about, but I'll show you those now. So the socks I've put on are another Crazy Sock Lady Designs pattern. Kay released this pattern on Wednesday past, and this is what I have got done. The pattern is called Morning Coffee Socks, so that is exactly what I'm doing. I make my breakfast every morning. The first thing I do is put on the coffee machine, and if the cat permits, because he gets onto my knee first thing in the morning, I do a wee bit of knitting, and I'm working at this little pattern. And it's fabulous pattern. Fabulous in that it's so simple. If you are a vanilla sock fan but get bored sometimes doing a vanilla sock, this is the pattern for you. It is just a slight variation on the vanilla. It's a 6 row repeat, but it's so simple that after the first repeat you know it, and it just breaks up the monotony of a vanilla sock. I'm knitting this on or with Bergère de France. It's the Gummy range. I don't have the label anymore, so I can't even remember the name of the colourway, but it's, the cuffs are in this dusky pink, and that'll be the main sock. So I've put them on and get a little bit done every morning. I've cast on the rib of the second sock just so that that's done and a couple of rows done, because that's always the bit that puts me off the second socks, getting the rib done. but we're working well on those. I think it's another heel flap and gusset, which will be done in this colour, and my toes will be in this colour. And I'm keeping this in a little bag that Mars gave me at Edinburgh Yarn Festival last year. And I think that's my motto every day. Today is going to be the best day ever. It's a cheery, happy bag. So if those socks on the go and have a look at the Crazy Sock Lady Designs page, and you'll be able to pick up a copy of her pattern. That's going to keep me going in the morning. Now this project, I bought this yarn kind of as a memory yarn, and I wanted to put it all into the one project, but it doesn't really work together. The colours clash a wee bit, but I still want them to be together. So I had looked lots of different patterns. I'd actually started one in July with it. It was the Happy Together, So Happy Together shawl, I think it was called, something like that. And I'd stopped. I didn't like it with these colours. So I decided I would look through again, and I've unbelievably settled on a fade, and I have avoided the fade craze up to now. And I thought it might be the most appropriate for this. So I cast on, and this is what I have done so far. I'm on the first colour. And actually it's a really, really pleasant wee knit. It's something that you can sit down, and it's garter stitch, and with the exception of every 10 rows or so putting in an eyelet, it's just a really simple little pattern. The yarns that I'm using and that I so badly wanted to put together are from Fleece Fibre Artist. Fleece Artist. And it's her National Parks collection from Canada. And I had wanted, for the provinces that I had been in, I'd wanted their yarn so that I could put them together. And Kelly, Celtic Cast On, had very, very kindly sent me the Ontario colourway, and she had sent it to me, and I think it's a worsted weight, which I'm going to keep for a hat, because I was finding it difficult getting the fingering weight in Ontario colourway. But she had also sent me this colourway. I think this one is for New Brunswick. I shall just check. Yeah, for New Brunswick. And it's beautiful. Those are my colours at this time of year, because that's where she lives. And it turns out that my friend Holly is also from New Brunswick, so it's special in that respect. So I had this colour, but the two provinces that I had been in, one of them quite briefly, but I had still set foot in it, was Quebec. And I have some friends who live there, Amy, Lynn and Sue. I think Lynn lives in the Quebec side. So I had that one, and then the Ontario colourway. Now, it's fingering weight singles, and I'm not a singles fan, but this is beautiful soft yarn. The colours don't really go together. Those two maybe could blend in. That one's a bit different, but do you know something? I actually don't mind. This is almost like a memory blanket for me that people do with random colours. I am going to knit, it's the Free Year Fade that I'm knitting, and it's going to be kept over on my sofa, and it'll be a hug to wrap myself in on winter days when I'm sitting there. It shouldn't, I know that the rows are going to get an awful lot longer. It shouldn't take too long to knit up. That's a few days work. It's actually a really good TV knit, because it's garter stitch and there's no purling, which is just lovely. So I'm starting with this colour, the Quebec. I'm going to fade into the New Brunswick, and we will finish with the big bright pop of Ontario colour. And it's just going to be a hug. It's my, as I said, it's going to be my memory shawl. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. I have been very unsettled and finding it hard to settle to anything, and cast-ons were taking place. I mean, the Kate cardigan's sitting, but I just didn't have the mental space to get involved in it, even though I'm at a very simple stocking stitch section of it. But just, I wasn't there. And I've cast on those two, and I've 2 other things on the needles, but nothing done to them. And I'll tell you about those in a second. I have been making other things. As I said, I've been making a few gifts to take with me, but also I have been making something that I had made last year and wanted to repeat this year. And if you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen it on my Insta stories. I last year had put together a notebook for myself, and it's a journal, a memory from last year's trip. And basically what I had done was I had given it the title, and you see my hashtag on Instagram's Canadian Rhinebeck Adventure, and I'd called the book The Ottawa Rhinebeck Adventure. And in that I had made a note of the different things that I had made for my Rhinebeck wardrobe last year, hashtag Rhinebeck wardrobe. And I had put in my travel project, I had put in my shopping list, and then a journal of things that I did every day when I was there, and then I'd put a section in bits and pieces, and that was just tickets and leaflets and cards that I'd picked up, things that people had given me along the way. So that was last year's, and I wanted to repeat it again this year. So I went and got myself another notebook, which I thought was lovely. I got it in TK Maxx, but it was tweedy looking, and I thought it was very appropriate. So I got it, and I've got it started. I have my cover page, Rhinebeck sweater. So I have my Rhinebeck wardrobe in here, which grew. Little pictures of the different projects. Better click over that one quickly. I have my travel projects, and I'll tell you about those now. I'm knitting a pair of socks. It's socks I'll bring on the plane with me. They'll be the main, actually, in transit project. I'm doing vanilla latte socks, so it's 6x2 rib sock. I'm knitting it in this, which is Fine Fish Yarns sock kit. So it was kind of not a full 100 grams. I think it was 50 and 20. And it's just autumn. So the main colour's the yellowy colour, and the contrast colour's the reddy colour. And I'm going to be knitting those in transit. Then I thought, well, I need something slightly bigger for when I'm there, and I wanted a sweater. So I have cast on the neckline of the sweater because I needed to change needle size, and I wanted that done before I went. So I had a couple of rows, and I've stopped, which was so difficult. I so badly want to keep going with this. But I'm knitting the Breakwater sweater, again by Cecily Glow at McDonald. I had this in my queue for a long time. I would say it's over a year or more that I've had this in my queue. And I eventually decided to do it, and I had bought the yarn at Yarn Folk Festival in Whitehead, and it's the John Arbon Harvest Hues pomegranate. So it's coming out quite russety there, but it's more red. And this is 65% merino, 35% Zwartbulls, if that's a correct pronunciation. And it's a fingering weight yarn, and it's lovely. It is so soft. It's like, I think that's why I wanted to keep knitting once I did start the neck. This is it, pulled up. It's like butter when you're knitting with it. It's beautiful. So that's my travel knitting. I'll be able to do it when I'm there. I think it's a fairly straightforward pattern, so that when we're sitting at the weekend, or when I'm at Selma's, or when we're sitting at the house in Rhinebeck over the weekend, I have something to knit on that doesn't require too much brain power. So that's my travel knitting, and I have my plans, my shopping plans. Like last year, I mean, the shopping, obviously the yarn is part of the reason you go to Rhinebeck. Last year I found that because of, for me the highlights, although the yarn was fabulous and I came home with a lot of it and loved every last minute of the yarn, it wasn't the main focus, and it very quickly became clear Rhinebeck's about people and about the experience and just the memories you bring back from people. And I think this year will be the same. But you have to go with the shopping list as well. If I had come home last year, on the first day I found that I actually hadn't bought very much. I think I bought one skein of yarn on the Saturday. And if I hadn't got back to the festival on the Sunday, it would have been slightly disappointing. But if I hadn't got any yarn, I don't think it would have bothered me greatly, because just the Saturday just carried me. It was just such a wonderful, wonderful day. And it'll be the same this year. I have plans, I have a shopping list, I'll get what I can get, but at the end of the day I'm not actually that concerned about the yarn that I buy. But I do have a shopping list. And these are my plans. This is a linen sweater. It's the Merrifield by Pam Allen. It's an Aran weight linen. I'm not sure if I'll get it at Rhinebeck. There is talk that on Wednesday next, Selma and I are going to take a little trip up to Montreal and we're going to Espace Tricot, possibly. And I'm going to look for maybe something for that there. I would like to knit the Broch shawl by Donna Smith. So I have one shawl pattern in here and it's a DK. It's funny, apart I think from this one, maybe another one, everything else is DK this year. Last year it was all worsted weight. This year it's all DK. This is the Numina. And I found this on the Green Mountain Spinnery website. I think it's on Ravelry as well. This is the only, well, I think I know where I want to get this. I want to go to Prado de Lana for yarn for this. And I want Green Mountain Spinnery for this if I'm going to get it. I've also had this on my queue for a long time and I keep going back to it. And then I was watching Fibre Trek, her latest episode, or I think it might have been the episode where she did the little episode from Orkney, and she was wearing this sweater and I thought, yep, it has to go back onto the shopping list. So it's big cables and baby cables and big ones too by Suvi Simola. Again, it's a double knit. You won't really see it there, but there's cable right down the arm and then there are two cables that kind of come down the yoke to about here. Bigger one and a small one. So that's back on the shopping list. And this one has been on the list as well, the Polka by Lauren Elkin, and again it's a DK. So I probably won't buy for all of them, but I will, that's on my list. And then there's a few miscellaneous things, a couple of things from Needles Up that I want to look for. And last year I had bought Harrisville Designs flywheel for the Engie sweater by the Engie sweater, Jennifer Steingas. I knew it would get there eventually. I think it's a Jennifer Steingas pattern. But I found that the colours I bought for the colour work are too dark against each other and won't show the design. So I want to pick up a couple of just extra colours that'll contrast better. So I've just made a little note because I won't remember the colours that I already have so that I don't double those up. And then I'm left for the journal, to keep my journal, starting on Monday. And all my other bits and pieces. So I'm really pleased to have this on the go again. It's an important part. I'd left this book down many times just to have a little browse through it and a little look and a little reminisce. So I think I'll do the same with this one. So I head off on Monday morning. It's quite funny, and it seems to have passed already, but this time last year, this weekend last year, Hurricane Ophelia hit Ireland. And there was a wee bit of worry and doubt whether I'd get out on the Tuesday morning because it hit Ireland on the Monday. And flights in and out of Dublin Airport were delayed, cancelled, and I worried about the Tuesday. And as it turned out, everything went smoothly. A storm and a weather warning hit here this weekend as well, for today. Now, it was very stormy last night, and I think it has passed. I'm hoping it has passed. It's meant to have passed. But I just couldn't believe it that 1 year exactly they decided to have another weather warning. But I fly out this time on Monday. I think I'll leave the house here about 5:30 on Monday morning, so it'll be an early start and a long day. But I can't wait. I can't wait. And I've plans. I'm going to have such a busy time. I've plans to meet up with friends on Tuesday. Selma and I might be taking the trip to Montreal on Wednesday. Thursday might be a down day. Friday we head off to Needles Up in Kingston in the Best Western Hotel. And we get our Airbnb. And we have our weekend there. And we come back to Ottawa on Monday. And I stay until Wednesday. So it's a slightly shorter trip than last year. I got asked by family that I wouldn't go for quite so long, so I took a day off it. And they're all well catered for all the people who've worried about them. All their meals are in the freezer. That's all part of the prep for me for going away. All their meals are in the freezer, and there's a list made with what day they eat what. So they're well catered for, and I've all that prep done. So I'm really now on the countdown, and I can't wait until Monday. If you are at Rhinebeck or Needles Up, please come up and say hello to me. I have badges again this year. Remind me to give them to you. I'm really poor at handing them out. I actually feel quite embarrassed handing them out. So remind me. I will have my PR person. Holly will be with me. We nicknamed her my PR person last year because she reminded me all the time. And remind me. Please also tell me both your Instagram name and your real name, because sometimes if you haven't a photograph on or just in the excitement, as you have seen through this episode, I forget names. So please just remind me who you are. It is not a slight, it is just my bad memory. I cannot wait to meet you. I cannot wait to chat and just to catch up and to see everybody, to get my apple cider donuts again, which I'm not meant to eat, but I'm going to anyway. I will suffer the consequences, but just I can't wait to the whole experience and to see everybody. And the next episode will be a roundup of that, and then I'll try and stop talking about it for a little while again. I'm really looking forward to it. A little side note, Edinburgh Yarn Festival next March. I think the classes, if you're interested in classes, come out tomorrow. So keep an eye on that and check their website so that you're up to date with that. It'll be another great weekend. But anyway, that's all I have for you today. And it was lovely to spend time with you again. And I hope to see you very, very soon.